I was not born into prophecy. I was born into numbers. In the quiet hours before dawn, when London still slept beneath timber beams and smoke, I learned early that the world obeyed patterns. Not prayers, not pleas, patterns. Geometry ruled stone, ratios governed harmony. The movement of stars followed rules more precise than any king's decree. I did not feel chosen. I felt trained. At Cambridge I became obsessed with what lay beneath appearances: navigation, proportion, optics, cryptography, astronomy. I did not separate science from mystery. To me they were two halves of the same instrument. Where others saw superstition, I saw unfinished proof. Knowledge was not something to admire. Knowledge was something to use. I built astrolabes. I recalculated star charts. I taught sailors to trust mathematics over myth. The oceans began to open. New routes carved themselves across water using nothing more than angles and courage. Long before angels would ever speak to me, I learned the only true secret of power. The one who controls measurement controls reality. A court is nothing but a nervous system made of steel and whispers. When Elizabeth ascended the throne, England was fragile, surrounded by enemies, starved of global reach, and strangled by Catholic empires that already knew how to wield both faith and fleets as weapons. She did not need a mystic. She needed an engineer of futures. And so I was summoned. Officially, I was an astrologer, an advisor, a scholar. Unofficially, I was something else entirely, a calculator of destiny, mapping windows of advantage hidden inside the heavens and the sea. I chose the Queen's coronation date through planetary geometry, not prophecy, probability. I measured political danger using the same mathematics others used to measure storms. I charted coastlines no Englishman had ever seen. I redesigned navigational doctrine. I prepared the minds that would sail beyond known maps. I named the unnameable. It was I who first wrote the phrase, "the British Empire." Before cannons ruled the Atlantic, before colonies darkened the globe, the term existed first in ink, not blood. Empires begin as ideas. Spain conquered with fleets. Portugal conquered with ports. I intended England to conquer with information. Maps became weapons. Coordinates became leverage. Mathematics became sovereignty. I calculated tidal behavior. I modeled prevailing winds. I taught captains to trust equations more than inherited lore. Every successful voyage created data. Every data point refined the system. Exploration ceased to be adventure and became procedure. This is how empires are truly built, not by conquest but by repeatable navigation. While other nations prayed for favorable seas, England began manufacturing certainty. And still something was missing. Navigation taught me how the world moved, but not why. Physics reveals motion. It does not reveal intent. For that, I would need a higher order of intelligence. Edward Kelley arrived like a fracture in reality. He was not learned, not disciplined, not mathematical. He was volatile, emotionally unstable, possessing just enough charisma to be dangerous, and yet he possessed a faculty I did not. He could see, scry, peer into reflective surfaces, and report structured information that did not originate in his own mind. I tested him relentlessly. Repetition, verification, protocol. The results did not vanish under scrutiny. I did not ask whether the intelligences he contacted were angels. I asked whether they were coherent. They were. At first they gave symbols, then tables, then entire linguistic frameworks. grids of lettered geometry unlike any human tongue. We documented everything, dates, positions, numerical values. The system grew faster than any I had ever engineered. We were not communing. We were receiving transmissions, and transmissions can be analyzed. It is one thing to receive messages. It is another to receive a language. Over months of controlled sessions, the intelligences delivered a complete symbolic grammar, phonetics, syntax, hierarchical structures of being. They called it the angelic speech, the language through which creation itself was once commanded. I did not take their claims as doctrine. I took the structure as evidence. The language was internally consistent. Its phonetic sequences matched expressed hierarchies. Its grammar reflected its cosmology. It behaved like a functional operating system encoded into sound and symbol. This was not mysticism. This was engineering from outside the human archive. We assembled tables, sigils, keys, gates, each working like a nested circuit. Kelley would receive, I would formalize. We tested invocation as one test voltages. Sometimes the room changed, not with theatrics, with pressure. Europe was not ruled only by armies and crowns. It was ruled by hidden channels of information, Catholic mystics, imperial astrologers, Jesuit scientists. Every empire ran its own shadow laboratories. Dee's angelic experiment did not exist in isolation. It existed in competition. That is why I traveled. Germany, Poland, Prague, courts and castles where Catholic powers ruled behind gilded symbols. I carried no flag. I carried no army. I carried protocols. I listened more than I spoke, measured political vectors, observed the occult networks operating beneath surface religion. I learned that every empire maintained its own metaphysical intelligence service, and I learned that England was behind. The angels were no longer spiritual curiosities, they were strategic assets. No system is immune to instability. Kelley changed. The transmissions became erratic. The commands altered in tone. Moral pressure entered the system. Boundaries dissolved. Instructions contradicted each other. I attempted to stabilize the apparatus. Kelley did not. He chased sensation. He blurred discipline with desire. He began obeying voices without verification. The precision collapsed. The machinery degraded. And when the machine breaks, the operator always becomes the scapegoat. Elizabeth withdrew her trust. Court favor vanished without ceremony. Patronage turned silent. I returned to England stripped of protection, armed only with manuscripts no one in power wished to understand anymore. Empires do not thank their architects. They discard them once the structure stands. I did not die in a laboratory of angels. I died in quiet obscurity. My library was stolen piece by piece while I still lived beside it. My equations outlived my reputation. My intelligence architecture was absorbed into institutions that learned never to credit its source. Today, every modern intelligence service uses methods born from principles I pioneered. Signal interpretation, cryptographic language systems, strategic navigation through uncertainty, surveillance through symbol and protocol. They call it operations. I called it angel work. Whether the intelligences were divine, non-human, psychological, or something else entirely no longer matters. The result mattered. The system functioned. And any system that functions becomes immortal, not through memory but through use. Empires rise on maps, wars begin in numbers, and behind every crown sits a mathematician who never appears on the throne. You've been watching the Esoteric Unveiled, exploring hidden orders, forgotten truths, and forbidden knowledge. Like and subscribe.